Hello and welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 247. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isli.
Yo,
And I think Zai is either sleeping or Zai's busy doing some family stuff because it is Easter. So
or
I'm
both.
I'm but we'll go ahead and jump right into the news with Eidos Montreal announcing more layoffs.
It's
Which of
freaking
course
every
they are
week now, man.
well, yeah, they're the of course the Deus Ex and Tomb Raider developer. And they confirmed that they're letting go 124 employees across the production support teams, and also I want to say what's his name, the head of the studio, David and Fosse is also leaving. They didn't give a reason why, but they joined in as a producer in 2007, and then eventually took the role of head of studio in 2013. So that's around the time that the Tomb Raider reboot was coming out under Square. But yeah, they didn't say why. But yeah, he overlooked projects like Mankind Divided, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and some more stuff. But yeah, he's gone, and they're cutting studios, and they announced layoffs in 2025 as well. And then I think
It's got to be, and since like Eidos Montreal is not, international. I mean, the game company is obviously makes games internationally, but like if it's all from their studio in 2025 and now, you have to imagine that was a huge workforce reduction.
yeah, at least they're in Canada, so they got, probably better worker rights than the US. But yeah, it sucks because they can't like Jason Schreier reported, that in 2024 they canceled a Deus Ex project that was in the works, which bummed me out because I was like, when the hell are we gonna get more Deus Ex?
Didn't
But
they? Am I mistaking? Didn't they also like cancel Deus Ex in general? Like say that they weren't going to revisit that world or something? I feel like
they might have
maybe it
said
was just the statement of when they canceled the game, but I thought they essentially were like shelving that series due to low sales or something.
they might have something like, oh, we're maybe like, oh, we're not doing anything now, but we will, but we're just not gonna revisit that world at this time or something.
Yeah, it was one of those like this world's being shelved for a bit kind of statements.
Yeah, which sucks because 'cause I'm like, "Damn it, man. Deus Ex is I like a 3rd
Oh,
one,"
those
but
games are
oh well.
great. They were
Yeah.
fantastic.
But yeah, so that's, unfortunate news, every week it's like, layoffs. But, speaking of some positives, so we know obviously that Shinji Mikami, had left, the Evil Within studio. Oh my god, what was the name of their studio? Oh my god, I'm totally blank. Tango Gameworks. There we go. It took me a while. They have the snail. He left Tango Gameworks a while back, and this was before Microsoft had shut them down after Hi-Fi Rush. But he started a new company in 2022, remaining independent, working on a new project, but no announcements of what he was working on or like what was going on. But now, the Stellar Blade developer Shift Up purchased that new studio. Unbound is the name of the studio, and will help to create and publish his next game. Which is interesting that he would do that. Like, obviously, it has to be a case of I need funding, and then who's going to offer me the best deal versus my experience with Tango, I suppose, and Bethesda. Like, was that good? Was maybe the Microsoft bit not good when Microsoft bought Bethesda? Like, I'm curious, like, because you go independent and then you get, it's
Yeah,
acquired by
it's
someone.
interesting that he yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's the same story as always of like went independent, didn't have enough money, but then doesn't want to go back to the studio that potentially like closed them and like you don't want to I an independent studios going to certain places and selling themselves off. I feel like it makes sense if you find the right partner. And I feel like a lot of times they get sold to of like, "Oh, we're going to be the perfect partner for you." And then it's like a year later they can you.
Yeah, and he does say in he had like an announcement video where he said, he's working on a fairly large game, and we're going to create a masterpiece of a game. Continuing to say, I've come to see my vision and ideals more clearly, and I don't think I've ever been in a situation where, as a creator, our wavelength and direction align this closely. So for as long as my career continues, I would really like to keep working together. And for the first time in a while, I'll be fully involved on site to work on a fairly large game, and I'm really looking forward to it. To all the gamers waiting for this, I hope you can wait just a little longer for its release. That's how I feel. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you very much. So he's talking about the joining up with that acquisition with a shift up. But yeah, I'm trying to see when Tango GameWorks was first founded. Yeah, it was 2010. Yeah, so it was acquired. I'm trying to see when it was acquired by ZeniMax. It must have been immediately because he found it in 2010, and it says ZeniMax 2010 to 2024.
Did you play Hi-Fi Rush?
No, I didn't play Hype because it was Xbox exclusive,
Yeah,
and
but it came to PS5 now.
yeah, it came now, but I'm like, I was like, I'm not interested in a rhythm game at this
I
time.
know.
So
I tried playing it for like 10 minutes and was like, I know this got great reviews, but rhythm just might not be my thing.
yeah, yeah, he must have formed it under ZeniMax immediately because it doesn't talk about it says the company was acquired. Oh, in October of that year after suffering financial issues. Okay, so he formed the company and then in March, and then they acquired them in October over some funding stuff. So okay, so that seems like it was more like a desperation move to go to ZeniMax, and then this is more like, I mean, maybe it's something similar. We won't know. Who knows when this, Wikipedia entry about financial issues will come to light for his new studio Unbound. But, hey, it's sounds like he's excited. And it's not like a big old, it's not like 10 Cent or someone or NetEase. It's just another studio. It's like, yo, we'll help you and we'll publish it. Like, which seems kind of crazy. But hey, good for him. Hopefully he has some fun making a game. And then, of course, there was a couple years ago. Obviously, we know that they canceled the Last of Us multiplayer that was going on in Last of Us Factions. But there was the director of the Last of Us Factions was talking about how the game was like 80% complete. He no longer works at uh, Naughty Dog anymore, but he worked on the game from apparently 2016 to 2023, and he didn't know it was going to be shut down till like the day before that Sony was
Dude, that's wild.
yeah. But yeah, he had an interview on a podcast, the Lance Ely podcast from Tokyo, and they spoke. This is Vinit Argawal is the game director for The Last of Us Online, and yeah, he was basically saying like it was 80% there, and they're very close to being done. But he does talk about how it's like, it was in. I think this was a case of had they. It sounds like it was under light production in 2016, probably to go along and launch with. I mean, I think that's what they talked about in the announcement trailer with Neil Druckmann, and maybe the game director was there to talk about it as well. But they announced how, oh, we're going to do multiplayer because they started in 2016, probably the same time they started production of TLoU 2, to do just another basic multiplayer. But then it evolved into something more. And part of that was because of COVID, because he talks about how, when COVID happened, now obviously TLoU got delayed from its February release, or supposed to be February. Yeah, February got delayed. And how, because gaming had a huge boon in 2020, especially multiplayer, Sony then gave more funds to it. So I think that was like, oh, we can kind of increase the scope of what this game is because look how much people are playing multiplayer right now. But then he talks about, well, that started to decline in 22 and 23 as buying power for people who are gamers started to decrease, as well as time because there was less working from home for a lot of people, which is such a weird reason. I'm like, are you saying people were playing games when they were supposed to be working?
I
Is
mean,
that
I'm
what
I'm
you're
sure they were, yeah, but
Yeah.
also like
Yeah. They
it wasn't just working from home. It was people weren't going out as much to bars. It was because,
right.
restrictions, so like you could
Exactly.
play games for cheap. Like there were a lot of reasons. It wasn't just, working from home.
Yeah, and we weren't like while the US was recovering better than other countries post COVID, we still it wasn't like necessarily a great time. So it's like, okay, economically things are still tough. Prices were going up from a lot of places, driving up costs, blaming logistics. It's like, okay, I don't think a 50% increase to your product is a logistics issue. But yeah, there was just a issues there, and then that kind of led to the cancellation. And then of course Bungie saying how if it's live service, you got to do all this work, yada yada. And we've talked about this previously, how it's like it shouldn't have been live service and everything. But I thought it was interesting to hear how far along it was from someone who was working on it. But oh well, it's a shame. Would have been nice to see.
I know it kind of makes me wonder if we'll ever actually see like a Last of Us Part 3 because I know that I know when like Last of Us Part 2 came out, there was a period where he's like, no, it's Druckmann was like, no, it's done. And then of course a few months later they were like, well, maybe the story's not over yet. And there was a lot of
Yeah,
speculation on like a part 3, but now it feels like, nah, maybe it is just done.
well, because then they had it was at the end of there was like a documentary on the development of TLoU 2, I think, and it was at the very end. he said he had some new ideas, and I that's got to be like when you get to say you're done, it's like okay, I'm done. Just because you have no idea where you're going to go next. This isn't a Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 where it's like you have them together, or the Lord of the Rings trilogy where you do it all back to back. It's like you make the game, you have a kind of an isolated story, and unless you build it to be open, where it ends on it ends in the theater, right? And then it's like, bam, now we're going to have Part 3. Unless you do something like that, it's like okay, you're done. It's like, okay, what else can we do? It's like, I have no idea. But then you sit on it. Maybe you try doing other projects or something else. You work on the TV show, suddenly you start getting new ideas, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, I think I know what we could do. Because he even talks about like the way he pitched it to Troy Baker back when he first had the idea. He's like, I have an idea. And like that's like TLoU 1 could have just stood on its own. But it's like I can see it. Like, yeah, just say you're not going to do anything because you have nothing locked in. And then if you're the creative over time, it's like you could be inspired by something else. But yeah, we'll see. I know there's also like rumor. Good.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel like for me, it would be like I would just have a hard time getting excited about it after being away from the world for so long. Like, creatively getting into Intergalactic is probably like a lot more rewarding right now than like trying to come up with a trilogy.
Yeah, but I mean, it was 7 years between TLoU 1 and TLoU 2. So it's like I feel like, and yeah, obviously we're coming up on 7 years in 2027. But if they did one after Intergalactic, I'd be totally fine because like the TV show is going to come out with the season 3, and I'm like I know I'll play it. Like I don't need it. Just like with TLoU 2, I don't need it. I'm happy if it was just one and done. You don't, turn this into a franchise. That's okay. I don't mind. But then I'll be like, okay, if they announce that they're going to do it, I'd be like, interesting. I'm curious what you're going to do, and I'll play it because of that. It's like because I like everything you've done with the IP so far, I'll play it. Um, but there's also rumors that apparently, or rumors, people are speculating that someone's working on a new Uncharted because the director for Lost Legacy was like took a picture somewhere. It's like looks like on a coastline, but there's like an old cannon from some like
That would also be a weird thing to come back to at this point, but I could kind of love it. I wonder if they would even do Nathan Drake or if it would just be someone else entirely.
I mean, we've talked about it before, but, like, we know who it should be, and I think that would be fine. But I don't
Yeah, I,
know.
we know who it should be, and usually
Yeah.
they always come back to the old white dude. Like,
Well,
not
they
to
could be like
put it bluntly, but
if depending on how far ahead in the future it is, like, you could do it where it's like Nate is in the Sully role, and
right.
maybe Sully is there because Sully's gonna retire, like, "I'm too old for this kid," you know?
Fully agree, but like then I look at Star Wars and I'm like, everyone just kept clamoring for it to come back to Luke Skywalker. Like the way they handled the
But
new trilogy, everyone just kept commenting like, "Where's Luke Skywalker? When's Luke Skywalker going to come in?" And it was like,
well, that's
it's
because they
it's
were
hard to move on, like bring a series and move it on from a main character.
That's because that was set up as, like, it's a direct sequel to the originals, and they showed Han Solo, and, like, that was the shtick of that was like, "Hey, remember these characters?" Versus, like, "Hey, let's" because now a lot of people are talking about, like, "Oh, I want a Star Wars where, like, it has nothing to do with the Skywalkers." That's why, like, Andor's, like, its own thing, there's no Jedi in it, people love that. It's like, a lot of people liked, oh my god, what's the name of The Acolyte, but the problem with The Acolyte was that they needed to tighten it up. And like my biggest issue with that was like the main character had I forget his name, I think Saul, SOL maybe. He like kept trying to tell someone about a truth of something that happened, but they kept stretching it out. And every episode end where he's about to tell the other character this truth, and then it cuts. And he doesn't like. Don't do that. Like there were certain bits that they just need to change, but like a lot of other stuff people loved about the Acolyte, like the fights, the choreography stuff. Like it was cool seeing other things that like because it's the old Republic. Kind of stuff before, everything else happens. So it's like, whatever. Like maybe the Starfighter or whatever it is, the one with Ryan Gosling will be good because it's not gonna be, again, no Skywalker nonsense, but we'll see. And it's like they did Lost Legacy, which was, 2 female characters, and then it just had,
Oh,
Drake's brother.
fully agree. Just like I think it's a hard thing to get by sometimes, and also agree of like Endor was great because it didn't have the Skywalkers in it. But
Yeah,
well, I mean, Last of Us 2 kind of tried to move. I guess it's not spoilers anymore. They tried to move on from Joel. Um,
well, I mean, that was, they kinda did, and the whole thing was about, like, getting
yeah,
over that loss.
right. And people complained wildly, so I'm like, so they've got the studio like drive to try and move on from it. So uh, credit where credit's due, they don't pull punches with that stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't have, like, 6 games of the Joel Miller saga, you know what I mean? So, it was like, people are getting tired, like, "Okay, move on." "Oh, you got 3 new games? Oh, and they're all about the Miller family again." So, uh but I think they could, and then just have Elena and Nate there as just kinda like, side bits or something. Like, I always thought it would be cool if it was just like, oh, they go off to do some exploration, and then the daughter goes off and, like, explore something, they get separated, and now it's like her, and turns out there's some, as is common with Nate, some ancient civilization, and they're separated, and you're trying to get back. So it's like you're doing the puzzle, trying to meet back up with your family, and then you guys split up or something, Like you could do something like that. But the thing is there is like, okay, but they're redoing the first Tomb Raider this year, and then there's a new Tomb Raider next year. So it's like if you make it, you got to make sure that doesn't feel like, oh, we're just doing not that they were just doing
I
Tomb Raider
really
4,
hope
but
the Tomb Raider isn't multiplayer again.
I don't think I only think the first 2 had multiplayer. I don't think the
Yeah,
3rd one had multiplayer.
but I'm just saying, like, I hope they just make it like a really tight single player game, and I don't want them to add like a weird multiplayer into it. There's something to be said about like doing a really focused game, and at this point, I'm kind of tired of the trend of like the single player shooter that ham fists in a multiplayer, or the multiplayer game that ham fists in like a single player campaign. I'd just rather have like a tight, like efficiently designed game that focuses on one particular singular experience. Or like if you're going to do multiplayer, it needs to be really good and actually like its own thing, but then that game becomes huge in scope.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, who knows what they'll do after Intergalactic for them. Uh, but moving on. Speaking of multiplayer and live service, I saw this funny bit where so Landfall Games, the folks behind Peak, and Aggro Crab, or did they do Aggro Crab or did they help develop? Anyways, they had like a Landfall day or whatever but it's on April 1st, and they do a bunch of fake announcements, and like there's someone tweeted or something how I'm mad at Landfall for their lazy dev cycle for Peak when they could be doing so much more what with it considering their ending development of this year. And then Landfall responded saying Peak has had so many updates. He's like, neither us or AgroCrag are live service studios. Any update is a bonus, not a right. And it's like just this big thing about how like, yeah, get used to games that aren't live service. Like, and everybody agrees, like, yes, this is how I mean, we talked about it before. Like, this is the whole going back to multiplayer for factions. Don't make it a live service. Just motherfuckers couldn't survive PS2 era video games, man, or N64. Like, they didn't get updates. You had what you had. The only way you can make something fresh is like if the game had, you know, modifiers, or you can control like in time splitters the how difficult the bots are, and then blah blah blah. And so it's like, yeah, not everything needs to be a live service. It's just, you know, that Ghost of Tsushima's, Legends mode. Just straight up, hey, here's a thing. It's not gonna have extra content. Just there you go. But it was nice to hear a game dev actually say that out loud that, hey, not everything has to be a live service. So I thought that was good. And then the last bit of news I have here, which I thought was kind of funny. So there is a ramen shop in Japan that has declared it'll now be selling Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Age of Sigmar miniatures alongside its noodle soup as an official Warhammer retailer.
Uh,
So the owner of Mendokoro Maruda, which is the name of the place, which is in Sakusabe Chiba Prefecture, which is in the eastern outskirts, believes this is the world first, saying probably the first in the world on Twitter. A ramen restaurant is becoming an official Warhammer retailer, and basically they just plan to sell miniatures as well as paints and tools. The and the ramen shop owner basically said that they're no veteran Warhammer fan, despite being the same age as the game, but they're enjoying the hobby as beginners, saying, quote, I've been immediately captivated by its charm, so I'd like to share it with a wide audience. In the plant saying, once I got hooked on Warhammer, even though I'm a ramen shop, I ended up signing a contract with Games Workshop. Menya Maruda has become an official Warhammer retailer. LOL. I'm a total beginner, but I'm gonna dive in headfirst. So looking forward to your support. So yeah, it's just like some guy who got into it, and he's like, "Yo, this hobby's great. I have a storefront. Why don't I see if I could reach out to Games
Dude,
Workshop?"
that's absolutely hilarious.
Because I
What a journey.
I've seen videos back when I first was getting into Warhammer where, like, YouTube starts kicking me Warhammer stuff, and there was someone who, like, went to and I don't know if it was in Shibuya or where, but they went to, like, a Warhammer shop in Japan. Now, Warhammer isn't necessarily huge in Japan, but it does have a scene. Gunpla is more popular, I think, because it's more like Gundam. But he went to the Warhammer shop, and it was, but it was pretty small. Uh, and I'm sure that probably just leads to, like, the niche, also the cost of the hobby as well. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Just some guy, like, he got into it, and he's like, "Yo, I love this world," and everything. He's like, "This is dope. I wanna, go ahead and convert my shop into this." But, yeah, he said, I'm delighted to have hobbyists visit us right away. It will be shipped." Oh, he's just talking about stuff that'll be, shipped to the place, and he's other people are, like, reacting positively online, so it's just pretty funny. This this week.
Are you gonna
I
go
just
to
thought it was
Japan just to experience it now?
no. No, 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 no.
It's the
I don't
perfect
I
thing
don't
for you,
I
man.
don't need it. It's also, like, it sounds like some part of Japan where maybe, like, who knows what the tourist stuff is like over there, so I don't know if I'll go that
Well, I
way.
mean, obviously,
Uh
it's pretty good. They got a Warhammer ramen shop.
Now, yeah. Uh, the plan is to eventually hold play events outside of normal business hours, and yeah, they're just in time for 11th edition launching later this year. So there you go. I'm just sorry, I'm just reading over the rest of this bit here, just trying to see if there's any other nuggets to speak to. But yeah, it's I thought that was a pretty funny article. All right, well, that's all I have for the news. There wasn't too much else games wise, just a lot of like Crimson Desert stuff, but we're not playing Crimson Desert and then other things. It's funny listening to people talk about Crimson Desert is like this must be what it's was like for people who had no interest in Death Stranding. Like just listening to people talk about stuff and like crazy things that happen. But then they're like some people not this was a one to one for people's experiences, but it's like people talking about like, oh yeah, I did this and this happened, but then this annoying quest happened, or I was 30 hours in and then they tutorialized fast travel, which I'd already done 1,000 times. Or then they have this great thing and then this weird bad thing happened. And like, I think I'm enjoying it. And they have like 50 hours in the game. uh, but yeah, it's just like, this must be what it was like to
As
hear
someone
people
who
talk about
listened
this
to
training.
Death Stranding talk, yes, that is what it was like. It was very confusing.
Yeah. But I feel like I never had any, at least in my experience from what I've heard from people who were playing the game and enjoying it, were more saying like, yeah, there are long stretches of, cutscenes. There's a lot of, codex calls, even though they're not codex calls, a lot
To
of,
me, it just feels like a game that's hard to describe. Because, like, that was the whole thing around Death Stranding is
mhm.
I really enjoyed it, but that game is hard to describe. And even the perfect description of it doesn't really sound like the most exciting game in the world. Playing it, it's a really nice experience. But like it just doesn't market or sell well. And I kind of get the same experience now with like listening to people talk about this.
Yeah, and I wonder if it'll be the inverse situation where, like, in 2 years or something, it's on sale and I play it, like we talked about before, and it's like and I have a good time with it or something. But, yeah, it sounds so weird, like, there's like, oh, and there's, like, a steampunk region, and then there's just like, people talk about some of the stuff that happens or, like, puzzles you come across, and, like, there's no guidance, which I love. It's like, if you can solve it, good. But it's like sometimes you like, people, like, find switches or do something, they have, like, no idea where what the switch did. Uh, but yeah, it's just like, okay, I mean, if you're having fun, but like it's very, vapid, it's like you can still have fun with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll be curious if either of us play it like in a couple years or something.
I could see myself playing it in the future if it gets a little bit cheaper or something like that. So it does seem like a game I would enjoy.
Yeah, like maybe yeah, it's cheap or something. But yeah, we can go ahead and jump into what we've been playing. Go ahead and start. You what have you been playing?
Well, I'd already picked up Neo, so I started playing Neo, which I thought I would. It's hard to talk about though, because to be honest, it's just Neo. Like it's a really, really well polished version of Neo. So
Hmm.
if you liked one and two, three is like the most polished version of it thus far. If you didn't like one and two, you're not going to like three. Like they haven't
Yeah,
changed many things. They haven't like there's fun stances. The combat's really good. They've done a good job. I won't say like balancing the weapons, but they've done a good job of making all of the weapons as interesting as they were in the first games. The loot system is pretty much exactly the same. And the worlds are all kind of crazy and interesting, and like each level is interesting as well. So it's kind of hard to describe as like anything different than how I've talked, especially about Neo 2. I think Neo 2 took like a big step forward from Neo 1. Neo 3 kind of feels like they just kind of extrapolated on what they'd already done in Neo 2, added some new weapons, added some new abilities, and called it a day. And to be honest, it works really well. So like if you like the game, you're going to like Neo 3. But it also does make it challenging to talk about because I'm only like maybe like 5 hours in, and only being 5 hours in, the story is still kind of like I don't really care about the story. Half the time I can't track what's going on with it. The loot drops are pretty much exactly the same with how they work. The gear is really fun. The one comment is like they seem to be censoring a lot of gear and updates, which is kind of like weird but interesting to watch censorship happen live, where they have like really revealing outfits on day one, and then with each update they've been like making those really revealing outfits
Mhm.
clearly like censored, like they had a dress that had like a cut down the hip on the side, and then in an update they added really baggy pants under the dress, and they've been doing things like that for like many outfits, which is kind of strange to watch live, and I'm curious like why it's happening. But other than that, like honestly, it's a good game. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's hard because you don't play it either. But if you like a action, like a Diablo-esque, Ninja Gaiden-esque game that has loot drops and is kind of very heavily about like optimizing your build with loot drops, then it's a really fun game. If you are not into that style of like action loot and kind of like dungeon raid loop and repeats, you probably won't enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, for I so I did yeah, talk about last episode. I downloaded Dead Cells on PS5. And I did start it. And I played a bunch of runs.
And it's still fine.
I don't know how to describe how far I am. So I have the because you so I have some issues. But and my problem is like I don't have like a bunch of roguelike experience, so I can't be like, oh, it's like this. Like I can only really compare it to Returnal. And I felt like in Returnal, you unlock stuff at a quicker pace, or like when you find as you find new weapons. When you know that one room you have in Returnal where it's like, okay, you start with the pistol, and then you
Hmm.
come across a room where it's like a big altar and there's a gun. As
Hmm.
you discover new guns, the gun that is there is randomized. And you can unlock that ability in Dead Cells, but you have to pay a currency to get it. And it's like all the unlocks you have to pay for. So it's like, okay, I don't feel like I get enough of the currency in just a normal run if I die on the second or third biome, in theory, enough to really make it worth it unless you were to do the kill 30 enemies without taking damage or get there in 3 minutes in the first biome because you get 20 of the currency plus some other stuff,
Hmm.
some gold. And I feel like, yeah, I could game that and just do a bunch of 3-minute runs over and over and over. But I'm like, that's not fun. And then the game is also too easy until it's not, if that makes sense. Uh, like I forgot that this was a game where there's no enemy hit detection. It's you only get hurt when they attack. I forgot that because I was like, oh, that was the one unique thing about this. It's not like Castlevania. You could just run through the guys and they won't hurt you. But if they do the exclamation point and then do their attack, it's the attack that hurts you, not their physical hitbox, which I do like. I like that a lot because then that makes doing the speed to get to the end zone easier because you just run through enemies. And it is fun, but it's like because I feel like in Returnal, I feel like if you die a couple times, it kind of gives you okay, here's the grapple hook, here's the sword, here's the parasite mechanic, here's this. Like I feel like it gives you more stuff quicker to kind
Yeah.
of help you. And I feel like I'm not unlocking like I felt like it took a long time to get the vine unlock where it's like you tickle the vines and they grow up. I'm like, okay, I finally have that. And then I'm like, okay, clearly there's a wall jump or something mechanic because I can tell the way the level's designed. I can't
I
go
wish I
here.
remembered more about Dead Cells, but I feel like I don't even remember when you get those things. I do remember that Dead Cells is much more rogue than like the light aspect, and you don't earn things as much, and it involves much more repetition. Like getting better at that game in order to get more things actually just means going through levels like faster, like you
Yeah.
said. It's
Yeah.
much more it's less returnal you get more items even if you die. Dead Cells is much more based on like getting better and faster at the game. And then it has the weird trade-off. I do remember one thing I struggled with it is as you get further into the game, you unlock more and more weapons and items. But as you get further into the game and unlock more weapons and items, you also learn which ones suck, but it's not like you can like relock them. So they go back into the pool and you have that dilemma where it's like, man, really wish I didn't unlock this. It's actually making the game harder now.
Yeah,
And Dead
they
Cells
did.
suffered from that a lot.
Yeah, I think they patched that. That's why I wish I knew what the vanilla experience was like, because there is a thing where it's like, "Oh, I unlocked the randomized weapon at the start." Like, I did that, give me that. I unlocked that, and it's like, okay, the weapons you've discovered or blueprints that you've officially acquired, not just collected and then died, you have to, like, go you have to, like, make it to the dude or whatever, and that you've paid for and unlocked, they'll go into the weapon pool, but there is a way that you can do that. We're like, "Okay, here's a weapon, but I don't like it. I can remove it from the pool."
Oh god, because that was infuriating, like, when
Y
it first came out,
Oh, I bet. Where it's like,
and
"Oh,
I
this" yeah.
I did like the speed aspect because there was a part of, like, in order to get further and get enough currency to essentially buy items during a run to survive, you had to go faster and faster, and that was, like, the shtick when it first came out was getting good enough to go through places quickly to know what you needed to do and not do, and, like, it really became about the trade-offs with speed of what do you absolutely need to get further versus what, like, can wait, or where should you explore more versus when is it, like, good to call it quits and just move on.
Yeah.
It's Dead Cells is I'm actually blanking on what's the non-roguelite version. It's not just rogue. Because roguelite was like a recent term, but Dead
Well,
Cells
typically,
has
they're like
a lot more of
Metroidvanias and then
a lot
and
more of the like
roguelike.
randomization aspects,
Mhm.
whereas Returnal has more RPG and kind of like carryover elements, I would say. I mean, even the story of Returnal is more about carryover than Dead Cells is.
Yeah, but you don't there's not, like, a ton of upgrades in Returnal. It's just, like, the lash, the sword, and the parasite mechanic, and then it's all about running, finding new weapons that go into the weapon pool, and then eventually you find them. But it's nice knowing, like and there is some of this in this game as well, where it's like in Returnal, you open the map, it's like, okay, if it has the big circle over it, this is, like, the MSQ path. All, like, the triangles are, like, challenge rooms, blah, blah, blah. So, like, you kinda know, and you kinda learn that eventually here. It's like, okay, here's a door. I don't have to go in here. It has a treasure mark on it. This has a key. I need to get the key because I can't get past the door over here. Blah, blah. And it's that repetition of like, yeah, I could just run through it and not kill anybody. But a lot of it too is like, well, I want to if I got a weapon, it's like, okay, well, let me try this weapon. Like I typically don't like slow weapons in video games. And I had like a pretty slow weapon at the start. And I was like, okay, well, I'll run with this and try it out, blah, blah. And then I had one that was another like weapon a slow weapon, but it was a little quicker. And I kinda used that, and I kinda learned the pitfalls of that in certain instances. But again, it's that thing of, like, I don't necessarily wanna keep doing another because like, even if I run through and do, like, a quick 10-minute run, I don't necessarily make enough progress or get to a spot where I unlock something that's gonna help me. And it's the exploration, um upgrades that I wish I got quicker because 'cause I'm like, I know there is some sort of wall mechanic
I
that
feel
I don't
like if
have
you
access
don't
to.
like the gameplay of a roguelite enough to do a run, even if you're not going to get something, roguelites just aren't for you.
Well, yeah,
It's kind of
I
like takeaway.
yeah, well, that's why I don't play something like Spelunky because 'cause I've watched it, I'm like, "This doesn't look fun." Like, it's just the challenge of it is can you get to the end or get to Almac or whatever the all is now that's Legend of the Hidden Temple. Like, can you get to, like,
It'd be a
the
great
end or
game though.
something? It's like, yeah, can you get to the end? It's like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'll do a run here, and it's kinda learning the what is this try to be? Like, I get why it's fun, it's just not for me. But this is like, I know, like, again, there's the tickle mechanic. There's a statues you find, and, like, they give these, like, electrical zaps. And eventually, like, I finally got to the point where I killed some random elite boss somewhere. It's like, "Oh, now you can use the teleport statues." I'm like, "Okay, that's great." And then I found there's some guy in a sewer and like he's like, "Oh, I lost the rune, it's mine, give it to me." And I get the rune and it's like he's gone. It's like, "Oh, this is a permanent upgrade." Now you can use another fast travel zap totem or something like that. I'm like, isn't that just the same as the other thing? Or is it like exclusive to this biome and there's one for each biome that's unique? But I'm like, divine one, I feel like I got kind of quick once I got like to the second biome. It's like, okay, now I learned how to do this thing. Like, that's fine. But I'm like, where is this wall climb? Because I hate knowing that there's so much more I can explore in an area, and I don't have the ability. It's like I just have to grind or get to the end or wherever it is and then do it. I don't know. It's just like, and it's fine. Like I said, it's still
Yeah, I mean,
fun.
maybe it's just not for you, which is totally fine too.
But I gotta give it some more time. I wanna give it, like I wanna give it, like, a good because it's not like a story game where it's like, "Oh, it gets good after the first 10 hours," or it's like a 50-hour open world something, or like Death Stranding, like, "Get to the main continent first," and that's, like, when it really opens up. Like, I will keep playing it just because it is easy, again, until it's not, and it's like, I did have some fun moments where it's like, it teaches you the curse mechanic, that there's, like, the treasure chest is like, "Hey, open me up," and then you open it up, and it's like, "Haha, you're cursed now." It's like, you gotta kill 8 enemies or else you're one hit killed, to lift a curse, and, like, that was fun. And then I had that again where it's like, "Oh, this is easy, kill the enemies. This game's easy. These enemies here are easy. I can kill them. I have good weapons." Um, and then there was one enemy that I fought that I forgot can teleport. So then I went to, like I threw, like, a range thing at him, like my R2, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." And then he teleported right on me and killed me, and I was like and I only lost, like, 6 cells or whatever, but, I was like,
You
"Damn it." And
bastard.
I thought that was funny, and then, and there was a bit where it's like, every time you die early on, like, those first couple deaths are very much like, "Oh, there's a secret path this way," and you unlock something. It's like, "Oh, there's a character you talk to, blah, blah." Like, it gives you that progression, which is what Returnal does as well, but I'm like, "Okay, I feel like it's a little more in this where it's like, okay, I'm dying." Like, Returnal's more about story when you die multiple times, not unlocks. This is more like, "Oh, I feel like I should be dying, like, the first 4 times just to get some sort of lore bits going on, and more characters showing up, but no, it's all like I upgraded my flask to level 2, I got a couple, like, did my money recovery on death at, like, 2 levels, so I think I get, like, I retain 1,000 gold if I die. I've unlocked a couple of things, I'm, like, pumping points into some other stuff just so I can get it, but it's like, I'll keep giving it a go because 'cause I'm curious, like, I'm assuming there's a way to make it harder because, again, it is too easy, and that just kinda I don't know why it bugs me so much. Like, I yeah, maybe it's the Dark Souls
I
where it's
mean,
like,
is it too easy though if you're not actually getting to the like, are you getting far enough? Or because you said like it's too
I
easy
got
until
to
it's not.
well
So like
well, because
what is the like it's not point? Because the initial worlds should be easy.
it's when you get to, like, there was a challenge bit where it was like, "Oh, it's always, like, an elite boss with some weird modifier," and I'm like, "Okay." Like, I had one where it's like, it's an elite boss or elite enemy, not a boss, um, and it, like, had this spiral energy thing where it's like, "Okay, well, clearly if I stand in that when it loops around, I'm gonna get hit and take damage." But there's other enemies around them, so it's this cat and mouse game of I gotta go in, do some range attacks, try to hit, run away, go back. And, like, they don't always walk back. Sometimes they know where you are if you're above them. So it's like, okay, well, that's kind of annoying. So I have to wait for the circle thing, go back. Usually it's like, and that's what it is. It's like when there's like an elite enemy and then a bunch of other enemies. And it's like, okay, um, that's when it becomes like this is the challenge, like not taking too much damage here. But like all the enemies, because typically like, you can kill most things. You like your first biome, you wreck anything, then you're upgrading your damage, and then you get the second biome, it's like you're still just wreck and shop. And it's again, it's only elite enemies in like tight spaces where it becomes like once they start like teleporting around, it's like, oh shoot, like I had they had two, I think it was two pirate guys with the cannons or something. I think I'm trying to remember how far I got. I got to um I get the first boss you get to covers the bridge. That's, he's easy, whatever. I think there was a second boss I did, but I think it was like an optional thing I stumbled on. I killed them. Oh yeah, because the other boss I did was for the rune, which was a permanent upgrade, but that wasn't like a level boss. It was just no, not like I didn't beat the level and there's the end of the game boss. But I've got through. I want to say I've done the first biome, the pirate biome. I've done the sewer biome. I've done the rampart biome, and then I forget what's after the ramparts. But anyways, like I haven't like done like a whatever a full cycle is, and I'm assuming again. I assume there's a way that I want it to be like. I feel like I'm not. The thing about Dark Souls is like, okay, the enemies are weak, but they hit hard. So I it's like there's that punishment, but then there's like usually a more like stronger enemy you got to deal with. Blah blah, and then you master the combat through that. Where this is just like I'm just attack tech. Maybe I use some range, and maybe it's like I just have to learn use range more in some situations, which I do.
Well, I think it's learning to use range more, and then I think the other thing is it's less about range and it's learning about which weapons are actually good. And I
Mhm.
I hate to say that that's like or like which upgrades and things you should actually be getting. And I feel like that's where it sometimes comes in is it's not about it
But then
like it's
won't it still
partially
be
about
easier?
abilities.
Like,
Wouldn't
I feel is there not a modifier to make the game harder?
I don't remember one. Maybe there is. I don't remember one though, but I feel like the difficulty is getting further, not like
I
not
get
making initial things harder. There might be. Honestly, it's like I played it on release, so
yeah,
maybe there is, but I don't
maybe
remember it.
yeah, yeah, 'cause like, it is fun, like, learning different stuff. Okay, this is this. Okay, here's a modifier to this. And there was one where it's like, there's a mutation you can get where I think it's something like, when you take damage, you have for, like, 8 seconds, you take less damage, like 33% less damage, but you also do, like, 68% more damage for 8 seconds or whatever. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And that's like, if you're trying to do the don't get hit thing, but you get hit anyways, like, okay. That's interesting. I'm like, but I'm usually not getting hit. Then I had to run, so I'd never usually take that mutation unless I was like, okay, I'll take it because whatever. um,
This is making me want to go back and play this game because I'm like, I don't remember, and now I want to see. Like, I
yeah.
remember beating the hell out of it the first time, but now I'm like, I need to go back and play.
But then I found an item later I picked up where it's like, oh, you just slap yourself in the face for 5 damage. And I was like, why would I ever use this? But then I remembered later, I was like, oh, I guess if I had that mutation where when I take damage, I can hit myself, give myself the buff, and then just attack something. But I didn't have that mutation. And I was like, because I got that weapon like in a random spot. So and again, it's fun to play, and there is kind of that power fantasy, and I'm just wrecking shop, especially because you get powerful super fast. But then I guess this is my problem is if it's too easy, when you get to the spot where it's a challenge, you don't necessarily have the wherewithal and repetition of previous challenge to have the capacity to, read the situation and work around it and do it. Like, it's like in a Souls game, it's challenging or like Hollow Knight. It's challenging all the way through because you gotta be careful because you can die real easily. So it's like you're taking it more careful. But then you could one shot a boss potentially because of the skill set of playing all the areas leading up to it. Where this is like, if I'm just wrecking shop and then I get to a boss, it's like, yeah, I know to dodge when they get the exclamation point, but like, okay, maybe because I haven't spent much time doing those combos, like you're saying, like, oh, maybe I have that thing where I do bonus damage after I take damage, so I smack myself in the face. I practice with that in a level, but now I'm spending longer in an area that's easy, and I can't because I'm killing things so fast. I'm just killing them faster with this buff. Is that enough to learn like, okay, this is really good? Like when I had these like really powerful, like heavy weapons that were so good and I was just wrecking shop.
I feel
Um,
I feel like the thing I can't remember that's driving me crazy about this rant is when Dead Cells first came out, it was very much geared towards speed of like how fast you could get through levels, which makes
right.
sense with all of your complaints when it was geared towards speed. And I'm like, I want to play through the game again to see what I feel like it's geared towards now. Of like, is it still speed or is it something else?
Well, they have 2 doors for your bonuses, where one is like you kill in the first biome, you kill 30 enemies without taking damage, that opens the door, or you beat the level in 2 minutes or whatever. It's like, okay, so it's catering to 2 styles, and you clearly can't do both.
I don't remember if both of those were there on release or if it was just one or the other.
Uh, but they're there. But then I feel like I've done the 2-minute one, and I feel like you should get more souls or cells from that because you're giving up attacking all the enemies. Because if I kill 30 guys, I'm getting 30 cells, and I think everybody drops a cell, right? I'm getting
Is there
30
not a way to
cells.
do like both or something? Or
Maybe, maybe you could do both. I mean, I feel like it would be
I'm gonna
really hard because
download this game again.
you
This
have to
game.
go off the beaten path to like find. I mean, that is the benefit of getting like this unlocks of now I can climb the vine because I know if I climb the vine, if I fail like early on, I know I can find some extra guys to kill.
I'm
So
downloading this game again right now just to figure this out.
you do it. But yeah, it's just like I am. It's not like I'm not having fun. I just mechanically, I wish some of the upgrades I got quicker. I mean, it's like the double jump in Lost Crown, right? You get that shit so far in the game. I'm like, why didn't you give it to me earlier? Um, and then I just feel like I wish I had whatever lets me jump up the walls quicker. I wish I had more of the traversal stuff, so I can fully explore these biomes. But yeah, it's fine. Like I'll keep playing it. Like I said, I don't know if I got it from PlayStation Plus. I think it was might have been free when it launched back in the day. But
Is is the Castlevania edition no longer a thing?
It might be. I don't have the DLC because I got to a part where it's like there's an elevator and it's like, oh, you can take an upper path or the normal path. I'm like, oh, is there like different paths you can take like in other roguelikes like in oh, what's the name of the Inscription where it's like I think I don't think Cult of the Lamb has it, but it's like, oh, you have a path. This path leads to the shopkeeper. This path leads to a boss. This path leads to resources. Where it's like, oh, can I go different paths through the game where it's like you always have to go through 5 biomes, but you can choose like the upper biome or the lower biome. But like I went up the elevator, it's like, oh, this is DLC. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I can't take that. So why give me the elevator? So I'm like, I guess I'll just take the Stillwater path and just go here. But I guess the other roguelike I played was the Far Cry 6 DLC. That was a roguelike, which was fun. But that was first person shooter, so it was a much more interesting roguelike for me. Uh, because I like Far Cry. So it's like, oh, put roguelike mechanics into a franchise I love. But I'll keep playing it. Like I said, I want to give it a proper due. I just feel like early on, it's like you said, it still feels easy, which is maybe why they patched in that door for, now that just don't get hit. And that is fun because sometimes I'll be like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm almost
I
there, and I
remember
get hit.
that being there. The one I actually don't remember is the kill like 30 enemies one.
Well, that's the one. Kill 30 enemies, just don't get hit. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm like I said, I am having fun with what I'm playing. I just there's certain bits of because I don't have the frame of reference of other similar games in the genre where I'm like, I wish this was quicker. Because the repetition is annoying me a bit. Where it's like, okay. But like, because in Returnal, at least on the repetition, there usually was story stuff. You're finding the journals, you're finding lore things. That was more story focused. So that was like I felt like on death there was still kind of a reward. Plus, I like shooters more and blah blah blah. And this is and it was third person over the shoulder, really good looking. This is a side scroller pixel action game. But yeah, I'm did have fun. I just have some issues, but I'll keep playing it. And see how it goes. But anyways, that's what I've been doing. I haven't played too much else. I watched Send Help, and then I caught up on 2
How
episodes of
is
Invincible.
how is Send Help?
I liked it. It was good.
I have been debating watching it. I've been watching Invincible too, obviously, but was curious about Send Help.
Yeah, been doing a lot of Warhammer, so I haven't been playing too much. Like I said, just Dead Cells is like you said. I like because you can pause it and it actually saves your progress in the middle of a run. So like, okay, that's good. I can just pause and then go back to it. Um, and it's fun with that. But I'll keep playing it. Like I said, I want to give it a good amount of time. I don't want to do that thing where, motherfuckers play a game for half an hour on Steam and then give it a negative review. It's like I want to give it proper. And I didn't spend any money on it, so I feel like I owe it that. Like, if I had paid, like, $40 and then I'm like, "I'm not enjoying it," like, that's different. But I feel like I got it for free as part of PlayStation Plus, so I will continue to go through this, and maybe I'll change my mind. But yeah, right, these are just my issues right now. It's not like I hate the game overall, it's
Did you just say you hate the game
I
overall?
said it's not like I hate the
Oh,
game
I thought
overall.
you said I hate the game overall. I was like,
If I hate
damn,
the game
dude, then
overall, I
just
wouldn't
stop
play anymore.
playing.
No, no, it's just like it's quirks of the genre that I'm not used to because everywhere else I've played for the genre has been a little different. And I think it's also the easiness, but I don't know what you'd have to do to balance it to make again. And maybe I could look it up and see if like there are difficulties, but my assumption is if there is, I have to beat the game first, like most games, or like it to increase the difficulty, got to beat it. But yeah, I'll keep at it. But yeah, all right. Well, that'll go ahead and do it for this episode. Again, short one. We didn't have Zaya, so I can talk. Zaya's probably playing Final Fantasy.
Did she
Mm.
wake up? Should we give her
Oh
shit?
yeah, Zaya messaged in the chat saying, "Yeah, I overslept." I was like,
Of course.
"No worries." Yeah. Right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So thank you all for tuning in. Listen. Thank you, Zaya, or Zaya's not here. No, thank you, Zaya. You're not here. Thank you, Isli.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you all next time.
Later.